it's like
Yeah.
what we have, what I have learned in my UG section is like we are having some medicines which are specific for Meniere's. So somebody can say those medicines. Somebody can unmute and say those medicines.
Phosphorus, cholium, pteridine.
Yeah.
Hello. Phosphorus, cholium, pteridine.
Pteridine.
Salicylic,
Yes.
salicylic acid.
Salicylic acid. Yes. Salicylic acid. Then chininum sulf. Natrum salicylate. Yes. Chinopodium. Yes. These are all very important medicines which we have learned as specifics for Meniere's, right? So in order to prescribe these medicines, we are having the common symptoms of Meniere's. Apart from that, we are not having any general symptoms. Is that clear? So whenever we are getting a patient, we are not getting the particular symptoms alone. We are getting some general symptoms also. So if we have to prescribe efficiently, we have to look for the general symptoms. That is what our clinical experience in our OPD has shown us. Like if you are considering the general symptoms while prescribing, it will be very effective prescription. Like chininum sulf and pteridine. Pteridine is at least it is having some other general symptoms. Chininum sulf, natrum salicylate, chinopodium. All these medicines I have described, they are having only some specific symptoms for Meniere's. Right. Hello, Dr. Jayashree, can you enable screen sharing?
Yeah, I have done that. I have given the host power to you, doctor. Go ahead with that. Yes.
Okay. Hope the screen is now visible.
Yeah, it's visible. It's visible now.
Okay. You see the chininum sulf, we can see the tinnitus is there, the deafness is there, but the vertigo is not there. So can we prescribe the vertigo is not there in Meniere's? Okay, although we have learned it as a medicine for this sort of symptoms. Then it's natrum salicylate. Natrum salicylate, you can have all these symptoms like vertigo, tinnitus is there, deafness is there, and all this, what to say, this modality is there. If you are having this combination, we can go for natrum salicylate. Then chininum salicylate is another chininum sulf and natrum salicylate. It's a combination, and you can see deafness, tinnitus, and it is mentioned as Meniere's disease. Only under some medicines, it is given in Boric as Meniere's disease. So Boric may not be aware of the diagnostic criteria at that time. Maybe these medicines are not right also, as per his perception. Chinopodium is another medicine. Here also Boric has written as Meniere's disease. And we are having this vertigo, buzzing, the tinnitus and deafness. The three combinations are there. But we are not getting any other general for prescription. In carbonium sulf also it is mentioned as Meniere's disease. And we can think of these remedies when we are not getting any like correct remedy, or there is no generals, or it is an advanced case in which the patient is presenting with only tinnitus and hearing impairment. The vertigo attacks may not be there. As we have seen in the pathophysiology, after some time the vertigo attacks may not be there. Only the tinnitus and hearing impairment will be there. Next is the salicylic acid. Here also the triad is there. It is mentioned Meniere's disease. And Brioni, it is mentioned as oral vertigo. You can take it as the least movement. Tabacum, see in tabacum, whenever you are prescribing tabacum, there should be vertigo with nausea and the icy cold sweat. See, you don't get any tinnitus or hearing impairment here. It is an acute attack of vertigo, and we have learned, like, it is a favorite question during our Viva, vertigo on opening eyes. It is tobacco, right? Then we'll be asking what is vertigo on closing eyes. Yeah. So that's the thing, and you should not think of tobacco if these symptoms are not there, and you should not think of tobacco if there is some evident hearing loss and tinnitus. Okay, but you can think of it if these symptoms are there along with the triad. So that is how we select a medicine. In pteridine, Pteridion, it is clearly mentioned as Meniere's disease. And pteridion, the characteristic symptom is aggravation from the least noise. The patient cannot tolerate the least sounds, like barrage, cannot tolerate the sounds. And here it is when closing the eyes. And motion is also very unbearable for pteridion patients. Then coculus. Coculus is another remedy. There is vertigo, nausea, headache at the back of it, but there is no hearing impairment, there is no tinnitus which is mentioned. Okay. So this is the last comparison of the vertigo remedy. Tobacco, we have seen vertigo in opening eyes. So now we are asking what is the vertigo when closing eyes. Thuja, lachesis and pteridion. And vertigo on looking upwards. That we see most commonly in pulsatile patients, they will say that when I'm looking upwards, ma'am, I feel like some sort of dizziness. Then collosum, vertigo when quickly turning the head, especially to the left. That is a symptom of benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. Then eupatorium, vertigo with sensation as if falling to the left. This we rarely get in our clinical settings, but still we have to learn. Then conservative management. Then during the acute phase, ask the patient to take absolute bed rest. Patient should be reassured and ask him to take low sodium diet. And the most important thing is the patient should be cautioned not to drive, because sudden turning of head may bring on an attack and they will meet with an accident. So you should caution the patient never to drive. And dietary change and Cawthorn head exercise. Cawthorn head exercise is, I'll show a video over there that is the head exercise you should advise to the patient. That is a conservative measure. Hope you can see the video.
Yeah, it's visible, doctor. It's visible. Yeah.
Can you see the video?
Yeah. You can hear also.
See?
Yeah.
The eye movements. Ask the patient to look up and down. Now side to side. Is the audio not coming?
It's coming, doctor. It's coming, visible.
Okay. It's coming. You have to fix your eyes on an object.
The audio it's going, doctor. Maybe you can tell us. Audio now
Is
it
it
is
going?
not working.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not working now. Audio. Only video we can see.
Is the video clear?
Yeah, video is clear.
Video is clear. Okay. Is it now audible?
No, not audible.
Audio is not coming. So
Yeah.
it's like you have to fix your eyes on an object, and the thing is you have to fix your eyes and tilt your head. That's the idea. It's an ocular exercise, and whenever you are doing this, you should have an assistance, so that there is a chance of physical injury whenever you are doing this. So you should have a physical assistance whenever you are doing this. So there is a group of exercise. Like this is a shrugging of shoulder, upwards, like backwards, forward, up and backwards. So you have to do like this, and it is 20 times. See these type of exercise, it is very disabling for a patient with vertigo. If he is feeling dizzy, you can ask him to stop that, but ask him to increase the duration of exercise every day. It should be a constant exercise, should be repeated every day. See, if he's standing and doing like this, there is a chance of falling. All the exercise which we have done sitting, we have to do standing also. It's the second phase. Okay. So this is the Cawthorn exercise. There is a group of exercise. You can Google it in YouTube and advise your patients regarding what to do and all. Okay, hope it is clear for you. So we are winding up our session with the publication so far, which is done in this field. Like there was no publication in homeopathy on Meniere's apart from vertigo and nausea, because they have not diagnosed the condition as Meniere's due to this diagnostic dilemma in this disease condition. But we are having lot of peer-reviewed publications in this thing, dating right from 1984. You can see is a peer-reviewed PubMed Index journal, therapeutic action of homeopathic drug consisting of this combination in the treatment of vertigo. See, and with this combination that is named as Vertigo Heal, they have many publications and they have measured the microcirculatory effects of homeopathic preparation patient with mild vertigo. Pretty advanced in that field, and up to 2006 they are having this research on this particular drug affect the microcirculation in vertigo likewise, and it is also PubMed indexed Elsevier. You can see homeopathy versus conventional treatment of vertigo, randomized control, double blind control study. Here also they are not mentioning as vertigo, mentioning as Meniere's only vertigo. So here what we find is therapeutic equivalence between homeopathic remedy and beta histidine, which is Vertin, could be shown with statistical significance. Efficacy variable. Both remedies reduce the frequency, duration, and intensity of vertigo attacks during a 6 weeks treatment period. Both the remedies were equally effective. They are telling like both the remedies were equally effective. The homeopathic complexes, when I searched, it is a Vertigo Heal. This is a tablet and it has Proculus, Conium, and Amphotericea petroleum. These are all medicines for vertigo, but not for the triad. What we have mentioned as the triad. So whenever we are going for a publication on Meniere's disease, you keep in mind the diagnostic criteria. You keep in mind that there should be a monthly report form for this Meniere's, like this sheet, and you should note how the frequency and severity of vertigo is, how we can measure the dizziness. There should be a questionnaire to measure the Meniere's disease outcome. Then there should be a questionnaire to measure the tinnitus, that is tinnitus function index, and VAS score. So lastly, I would like to mention about this book, which is known as the Bible in ENT, and in this you can refer to all the disease conditions with recent advances and therapeutics management, as well as the questionnaires and the inventories and all, what all things you can give, what all research is going on, and it is an updated book, and how we can carry out a research on ENT also. And these are so many questionnaires when we are going for a research. I'm not going into detail of that. All these things, the thing is, it is freely available. Most of these questionnaires are freely available. Any clinician who is interested in research can browse these from the Google or Google Scholar and start doing. The only thing is you can go for a reporting or case reporting of Meniere's disease only after 2 years of treatment, because there is a lot of relapses for this condition, and only if the patient is treated for 2 years, and there is a scale for calculating this, whether the vertigo is subsided or not. And there is a reporting guideline for vertigo. Only if the score reaches 0, you can say that the patient is cured. These patients are like, this patient is not no change, and from here there is changes happening when the score is improving like this. But I'm not going into the details because it is outside the purview of this discussion. So this is a reporting guideline for vertigo. Whenever you are going for reporting, you should follow up the case at least for 2 years.
Can't hear you, doctor. Doctor, can you hear me? Your audio is not working, I think, doctor. Can you check?
And here you can see that this is the tinnitus function index score. And you can see 7 patients are cured here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And all these, am I audible?
Yeah, audible, doctor.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. You can see that 7 patients are cured here. Okay. And in these 7 patients, the TFI score is C 50, 50, 52, 41, 43, and 43. It is below 50. Within the range of 52 or below 50. In all the other cases which are above 68 or 72, There is no change or no clinically meaningful reduction. So that is a pathologically advanced. We have mentioned earlier that once the pathology progresses, the tinnitus become more obstinate and hearing loss permanent. Because once the organ of corti, the hair cells are destroyed, they don't regenerate like the nerve cells. Right. So this is the clinical finding. And these are the medicines which we found in our OPD, that is causticum, pulsatilla, sulfur. See, causticum we have prescribed in 3 cases, pulsatilla in 2, 3, 4 cases, natriumur in 1 case, conium. Conium only in 1 case, because after giving conium also, there was relapses. Although the vertigo has subsided, the patient was having relapses. So we were forced to give pulsatilla, causticum, likewise medicines in the other cases. But this particular case, conium was able to relieve all the symptoms. Okay, this study was published in recently published in International Journal of Ayush case reports, and it is from our institute only. So that's it regarding the Meniere's and its management. And at this moment, I would like to thank our officer in charge, Murli sir, for giving me the opportunity to present on this subject. And I would like to thank all my colleagues who have supported me. Like it is a joint venture. Especially, I would like to thank Dr. Jayasri, who has coordinated this program very nicely. And one of my students, Dr. Hiram, who is with me for supporting me with all the IT issues, and my fellow students also who are encouraging us to learn more. Okay, now
Dr.
I would ask whether there is any queries or questions in there.
Yeah,
You can ask in between.
Few questions are there with me. I think, shall we go ahead, doctor?
Yeah. You can go ahead.
So, is there any, would you like to talk on mobile phone induced Meniere's syndrome? One doctor is asking about this one, doctor. Mobile phone induced Meniere's syndrome.
See, you cannot say it as Meniere's disease. They have used as Meniere's syndrome. So Meniere's syndrome is when we use the term Meniere's syndrome, it is secondary to something else, right? So it is like when we are having Meniere's disease or the symptoms of Meniere's disease, which is secondary to some other complaints like syphilis, it is mentioned as Meniere's syndrome. Is it clear now? So what we have to do is remove the maintaining cause. That's the mobile phone, and it is Meniere's syndrome, not Meniere's disease. We can manage it with the symptomatic management. We can very well manage it. If symptoms are there, there is scope for homeopathy. Okay.
And one more doctor is asking about: is there any statistical data that number of cases of patients in whom the homeopathy can be useful as curative, palliative, and temporary reliever? Compare any data which you can tell us, doctor? Any statistical data you're holding? That we can say that these many.
Yeah, that's what I told regarding the last slide. It was a study which was published in IJAK. You can browse it. International Journal of Ayush case reports. You can see it is a case series which is published, and it was with 2 years follow-up. The number of cases are limited 16 only because we had to follow up the cases for 2 years.
And this doctor
and
is
you
also.
can find it over there.
And he is also.
Statistical means in order to have a statistical value, we need to have values now. So we need to fill the questionnaires like tinnitus functional index, vertigo symptom scale. Likewise, there are so many questionnaires. You can browse it in Google Scholar. You'll be getting questionnaires and administer to the patient at the baseline during the first visit itself. Okay, do all the needed investigations which we have mentioned in the diagnosis part. Create a baseline value and repeat those baseline values at fixed intervals, say 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, and 2 years, since the patient has to be followed up for 2 years, and then you can go on for an analysis. Okay.
And the same doctor is asking why a homeo should be a choice of integrative care in Meniere's disease.
That's a decision which has to be taken by the government. Because what I have seen in my 10 years experience, it is a very short experience. I know when I see my teachers over there, I can see my teachers in my Zoom group. they are having vast years of experience, and they have treated obstinate cases of Meniere's disease. And they are not saying that the patient are disabled for their lifetime, even though it is a disabling condition. It is certified as a disabling condition, and the patients are given many concessions if they are having Meniere's. But what we are seeing in our clinic is, fortunately, we are having some medicines which are having that sort of symptom collection, so that we could have good results. So integrative system, it is a step which has to be taken from the government side, right? No comments.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think the questions are over. I can't see any question. If any questions from the participant side, they can unmute themselves.
You can ask the questions if anything is there. Meanwhile, you can see this special OPD. I have mentioned it, right? It is in the Government Homeopathic Medical College, Trivandrum. We have started a ENT special OPD like this, and as a joint venture. This is in local language. Meanwhile, you can ask the questions.
Right. The questions are
then,
I can't. Yeah. Anybody
can
want
ask
to
the
ask?
questions.
Anybody want to ask? They can unmute themselves and they can ask the questions from the participant side. And even a few doctors shared that they could able to see a good results with the medicines like phosphorus, conium, lachesis, and graphites in treating the ear diseases. So.
Okay, thank you. I will try to thank all the participants for their patient listening up to the end, and for asking questions and all, fruitfully interacting with me. Okay, thank you so much.
It was an in-depth session. Thank you so much, Dr. Vinita.
Yeah, this you can watch this instruments which are used in a homeopathic setting only.
Okay.
This we are using this. We are doing all the OPD procedures like suction clearance, otoscopy. Now we are having an audiometry unit also. We can have the audiometry done in the college itself without outsourcing it. Everything we are doing over here, and we are getting the most the pathologically advanced complicated cases over here. This was our team. I told you earlier, it's a teamwork, and these students were managing all these things. And we were blessed to have a supporting teaching faculty also in our department. They trusted us, and still is going on after 8 years, taken up by NAM project. Okay, thank you once again. I hope we can end the session now, Dr. Jayashree.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Vinita. It was very valuable and informative session. I am sure that it benefited to all our participants. Thank you so much. Now I would like to request Dr. Deepthi Jilla to go for the vote of thanks. Dr. Deepthi Jilla, over to you. She is our assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry. Please, doctor, go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Hope I'm audible.
Yeah, audible, doctor.
We are greatly delighted to have you all on this platform today on the presentation, Meniere's disease by Dr. Vinita ER. Hope you all have enjoyed this knowledge refreshment. I would take this opportunity to first thank our officer in charge, Dr. K.C. Muralidharan sir. Thank you, sir, for always giving us an opportunity, and thank you for always being supportive and encouraging in all our endeavors. Also take this time to thank our principal, Dr. Raj Dadhan sir, who is also very supportive and always encourages us to take such presentations. My special thanks and a great appreciation to Dr. Vinita ER, today's presenter. The session has been so interesting because of your videos and your practical demonstrations. Thank you, Dr. Vinita. Thanks a lot for enlightening us on this wonderful topic and telling us the scope and limitations and the therapeutics. It was a comprehensive presentation which has included all the aspects of Meniere's disease. Thank you so much. Not to mention, thanks to you, Dr. Jayashree, as well, for the wonderful coordination of all the webinars. And and thank you all, audience, participants. We are thankful to you all. Thanks for joining us and encouraging us. And it is extremely polite of you to stay until the end. Keep joining us and let us share our knowledge and become better physicians and take the system forward. Thank you, one and all. Over to you, Dr. Jayashree.
Unmute your video, Dr. Jayashree. It is
Unmute.
Thank you, Dr. Deepti Jilla. Thank you so much. Now I request our officer in charge, Dr. Muralidharan sir, to give the concluding remarks. Sir. Over to you, sir.
No need to conclude anything because that was one of the best session, I think. I think with the
Yes,
practical aspect,
Yeah.
both the things covered, theory and practice. So even the practice in homeopathy also, she has covered in very well. Also, thanks to Dr. Vinita and all other listeners, audience, and Dr. Jayashree
Thank you, sir.
for taking up this in a coordinated way, well coordinated way. And Dr. Deepti and Dr. Biniraj for their short, precise welcome and lot of thanks. So thanks to one and all. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for all the participants for participating in all our webinars. Thank you so much. Keep participating in all our future webinars also. I request all the participants to visit our YouTube channels. That is in the name of NHRMH webinar in the YouTube, and please do watch those channels and do like them. Thank you so much. Now we will conclude now. Thank you so much.